step right up. Well, maybe just lean back. We're setting the scene today in Tamil Nadu. A date is coming up pretty quick, June 19th, 2025.
Yeah, and something significant is definitely happening, though maybe not out in the open. It feels more like, strategic moves on a political chessboard.
Exactly.
Okay.
Less like a big public rally, more like quiet maneuvering.
And what happens in these moments, sort of away from the main spotlight, can actually tell us a whole lot more about the real power dynamics than, say, a huge public event.
Yeah,
These are quiet, but the effects, they can be pretty big.
absolutely. So what are these moves exactly? We're talking about the biennial elections for 6 seats in the Rajya Sabha from Tamil Nadu.
That's right, 6 seats.
And our mission here in this deep dive is to really pull together everything we've learned, get past the surface noise. We want to understand what's actually at stake.
Why it matters to you, the listener.
Yes, and who the key players are, and maybe what the likely outcomes tell us about where the state's politics are headed.
Think of it like getting a ringside seat. Not to the main event everyone sees, but maybe to the critical planning session happening backstage. By the end, you should have a really good grasp of the stakes and the subtle shifts this election points to.
All right, let's get into it then. At the heart of this is the Rajya Sabha itself. Maybe we should start there. What is it, and why should we care about these 6 particular seats?
Okay, so the Rajya Sabha, it's India's upper house of parliament. The name, Council of States, is pretty literal. It represents the states.
You're right, Council of States.
And that's really key to understanding it.
Yeah.
Unlike the Lok Sabha, where you go out and directly vote for your member of parliament,
Your MP, yeah.
Rajya Sabha members, well, they're elected indirectly. They're chosen by the people who are directly elected to the state legislative assemblies, your MLAs.
So the MLAs we vote for in state elections are the ones who pick these Rajya Sabha members. And Tamil Nadu has how many seats in total?
Tamil Nadu gets 18 Rajya Sabha seats overall. But the system is set up with staggered terms.
Meaning not everyone is up for election at the same time.
Exactly. So every 2 years, 1/3 of those seats become vacant. And in this cycle, June 2025, that works out to exactly 6 seats whose terms are ending.
6 spots open. Now, why should this matter to someone, say, living in Chennai or maybe Coimbatore or anywhere else in Tamil Nadu?
Well, because the 6 people elected to these seats, they are literally the ones carrying Tamil Nadu's voice,
Yeah.
its specific issues, its perspective, to the national capital in Delhi.
Okay.
They're debating national laws, the big union budget, policies that affect everything from, funding for infrastructure like maybe metro expansions.
Like we talked about in Chennai.
Yeah, or down to things like agricultural subsidies for farmers in the Delta or education policy.
Yeah.
Stuff that really impacts daily life across the whole state. They are, in a real sense, your state's voice at the national level, chosen by the people you elected to the assembly.
So they're kind of a bridge between the state government and the central
A
government.
very important bridge. And you mentioned earlier, these elections act as a kind of political barometer.
Yeah. How does that work?
Well, because the voting power, as we said, lies with the MLAs in the state assembly. So the results of this election are a direct reflection of the power dynamics inside that assembly right now.
Okay.
Which party, which alliance controls how many seats, how strong they are, how well their alliances are holding together. It's a snapshot, a real-time check on the political health and balance within Tamil Nadu itself.
That makes sense. It's like taking the temperature of the assembly. Okay, let's look at the timeline for this specific election, June 2025. When does all this actually unfold?
It's a really quick process, actually.
Yeah.
The official notification, that sort of kicked things off back on June 2nd.
June 2nd. Got it.
Candidates then had until June 9th to file their nominations. Then, scrutiny of those papers happened on June 10th.
Okay.
And if anyone wanted to withdraw their name, they had until June 12th.
So a very compressed schedule leading up to the big day.
Which is June 19th, that's polling day.
Yeah.
The MLAs cast their votes between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m.
And the results. We don't have to wait long.
Nope. Counting starts pretty much immediately after polling closes, at 5 p.m. on that same day, June 19th.
Wow, that's fast.
Yeah.
Now, there was one little detail about the voting itself that caught my eye.
Something about the pens.
Yes. It sounds a bit quirky, doesn't it?
The MLAs have to use these special integrated violet color sketch pens of prefix specification.
Violet sketch pens. Why?
Well, while it might seem like a tiny bureaucratic detail, it's actually a measure for ensuring the integrity and uniformity of the vote. It makes sure all ballots are marked the same way, which can help prevent any confusion or, attempts at tampering. It's one of those little procedural things that just underlines the formal nature of it all.
Interesting. A specific pen for a specific purpose. So who are the 6 people currently holding these seats? The ones whose terms are finishing up on July 24th, 2025. These are the spots now up for grabs.
Right, so the 6 outgoing members are N. Chandrasekharan from the AIADMK, the All India Anna Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam.
Okay, one from AIADMK.
And then from the DMK, the Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam, there are 3. P. Wilson, known for his legal background.
Oh, yes.
M. Abdullah, and M. Shanmugam, who has strong roots in the trade union movement.
Okay, so that's 4. Who are the other 2?
Those seats belong to key alliance partners. First, there's Vaiko from the MDMK, the Marble Malarkey Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam, a very seasoned politician, great orator, been in parliament multiple times.
A well-known figure.
Definitely. And the 6th is Anbumani Ramados, representing the PMK, Batali Makalkachi. He's also a familiar face, having served as Union Health Minister previously.
So Chandrasekharan, Wilson, Abdullah, Shanmugam, Vaiko, and Ramados. Those are the 6 whose seats are now effectively on the political chessboard.
Precisely. Their terms are ending, and the parties and alliances within the Tamil Nadu Assembly are now figuring out who gets to fill those spots.
Now, you mentioned this is basically a numbers game driven by the Assembly strength. How does that math actually work? How do you win one of these seats? Is there a formula?
Yeah, there is. It really boils down to getting a certain minimum number of votes from the MLAs. The basic formula is you take the total number of MLAs currently sitting.
Which is 232 in Tamil Nadu, right?
232, yes. You divide that number by the number of seats being contested, which is 6 plus 1. So divide by 7.
Okay, 232 divided by 7.
And then you add 1 to whatever that result is. That gives you the approximate threshold, the number of first preference votes a candidate needs to be sure of winning a seat.
All right, so 232 divided by 7 is roughly 33.1. Add 1. So around 34 votes? Or maybe 33 is enough given fractions.
It usually works out that around 33 first preference votes is the magic number you need to aim for to comfortably secure a seat in this scenario.
Okay, 33 votes. So knowing that threshold, let's look at the current party strengths in the Assembly. What do those numbers tell us?
Well, the ruling coalition, which is led by the DMK, and includes its allies like the Congress Party and others in the National India bloc.
Right, the alliance that did so well in the looks of the polls.
Exactly. They collectively hold about 133 MLAs.
133 out of 232. That sounds quite dominant.
It is. It's a very strong position. Those numbers are definitely more than enough to guarantee them a solid majority of these 6 Rajya Sabha seats.
How many would you estimate?
Based purely on the math, they can comfortably secure at least 4 seats. And potentially, depending on how things align, maybe even push for a 5th seat out of the 6.
4 or 5 for the DMK-led bloc, and you'd expect them to share those seats with allies.
Oh, almost certainly. That's standard practice. They'll likely allocate some of those seats to key partners like Congress, maybe MDMK, as part of their existing political understandings and agreements.
Okay. What about the main opposition, the AIADMK? Where do they stand?
The AIADMK currently has 123 MLAs in the Assembly.
123, so using that 33 vote threshold.
Right. With 123 votes, they can realistically count on winning 2 seats. Getting a 3rd seat would be mathematically very difficult based on just their own strength.
They'd need votes from elsewhere.
Yeah, it would likely require significant cross-voting or complex arrangements with smaller parties or independents, which you can't really bank on. So 2 seats seems the most probable outcome for the AIADMK based on their current numbers.
And the BJP, big national presence, but in the Tamil Nadu Assembly?
Well, based on the current Assembly numbers, the BJP only has 4 MLAs.
Just 4.
So with that number, they're simply not in a position to elect a Rajya Sabha member by themselves. It's mathematically impossible.
So any chance for them rests on?
Entirely on striking a deal, an alliance agreement, with a much larger party realistically. That means the AIADMK, and getting one of their lockable seats. But on their own, no chance.
Got it. And the smaller parties we mentioned, like MDMK and PMK, the ones currently holding seats through Vaiko and Ramados.
Their situation is pretty similar to the BJP's in terms of electing someone solely on their own MLA strength. They just don't have the numbers. Their prospects for getting a Rajya Sabha seat again are tied directly to alliance politics.
So they need a seat allocated to them by either the DMK-led front or the AIADMK.
Exactly. It really underscores how much this election is driven by the arithmetic of the Assembly. The negotiations and strategies happen, but they happen within the hard constraints set by those MLA numbers.
So while there's political drama and talk, the baseline is the math.
The math sets the stage. Definitely.
Looking back just a bit, this isn't new, is it? These Rajya Sabha elections in Tamil Nadu, they seem to have always been about these kinds of strategic deals and behind-the-scenes negotiations.
Oh, absolutely not new. You just
Yeah.
look back, these biennial polls are sort of classic examples of how alliance politics works in Tamil Nadu. Think about 2019, for instance.
So what happened then?
Well, the DMK had promised a Rajya Sabha seat to Vaiko's MDMK as part of their alliance agreement for the Lok Sabha elections that year.
Yeah.
And they delivered on that promise in the Rajya Sabha polls that followed.
Okay.
And similarly, the AIADMK allocated one of their seats to Ambumati Ramados of the PMK based on the alliance they had formed at that time.
I vaguely remember some talk back then about maybe former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh being nominated from Tamil Nadu. Did that ever gain traction?
It was definitely floated in political circles, yeah. A bit of a buzz about it, but ultimately it didn't happen. Then jump to 2020, the next election cycle.
What dynamics were at play then?
The DMK used the opportunity to send some party stalwarts, like Tiruchi Shiva, to the upper house. On the AIADMK side, reports suggested their choices were influenced quite a bit by the internal party dynamics and leadership struggles they were navigating back then.
So it consistently shows these seats are treated almost like, well, valuable political currency.
That's a good way to put it. Used to cement alliances, reward loyalty, manage internal factions. Much more about that than about a public mandate in the usual sense.
Which brings us right up to today and what feels like a particularly interesting political moment in Tamil Nadu. The sources we looked at really paint a picture of a state still feeling the effects of recent big elections.
Oh, the current scene is definitely dynamic. You've got the DMK and its allies just riding this massive wave of momentum, right? After that incredible sweep in the 2024 Lok Sabha elections.
Winning 39 out of 39 seats, that was astonishing.
It really was a near total sweep. And that performance just solidified Chief Minister M.K. Stalin's leadership and really showcased the power and unity of that India Bloc alliance within Tamil Nadu. They looked like a formidable machine.
A very, very different picture for the AIADMK, though.
Completely different. The AIADMK is, frankly, in a tough spot. They're trying to recover from being completely shut out in those same 2024 Lok Sabha polls. Didn't win a single seat.
They even lost the one seat they held from 2019, right, in Thini.
That's right. So their leader, AIADMK, Palmaswamy, he faces this huge challenge now of rebuilding the party's momentum, reestablishing their strength, especially after, dealing with internal splits and changes in their alliance strategy, like parting ways with the BJP.
And speaking of the BJP, despite all the national focus and a pretty significant campaigning effort in Tamil Nadu before 2024,
Yeah, lots of high-profile visits.
it just doesn't seem to have translated into major gains in the assembly, which, as we discussed, really limits their options for these Rajya Sabha seats.
Absolutely. That count of just 4 MLAs tells the story. Their alliance with the PMK for the Lok Sabha didn't yield any seats then, and now those low numbers mean they're entirely dependent on cutting a deal with the AIADMK if they want any Rajya Sabha representation from Tamil Nadu. It remains a real uphill battle for them in the state.
What about Kamal Hassan's party? Makal Nidi Mayam, MNM. They took a different approach in 2024, didn't they? They didn't actually contest the Lok Sabha seats themselves.
They didn't. They focused their efforts elsewhere, supporting the DMK alliance. And that strategy, well, it seems to be paying off now in a different arena.
How so?
Well, even though they didn't field their own candidates in the Lok Sabha race, reports strongly suggest the MNM secured a commitment from the DMK for one of these Rajya Sabha seats as part of that strategic arrangement.
Ah, interesting. Playing the long game.
Exactly. It's a clear example of leveraging alliances to gain a foothold in national politics, even without directly winning seats in a general election. A different path to influence.
Okay, so with that whole political landscape laid out, the DMK's strength, AIADMK's challenge, BJP's limited role, the M&M deal, let's talk candidates. Who might actually fill these 6 seats? The official lists aren't public yet, but surely the rumor mill is working overtime.
Oh, definitely. The speculation is intense. For the DMK, given they have potentially 4 or 5 seats to fill, you'd expect a mix.
A mix of what?
Rewarding loyal party figures, maybe some strategic picks for specific expertise. There's talk about potentially renominating people like P. Wilson, who's highly valued for his legal mind.
Okay.
Or maybe M. Shanmugam, known for his strong connection to the grassroots, the labor movement. That's always important.
And what about their alliance partners? That seems crucial for the DMK.
Absolutely central. The DMK will almost certainly use 1, maybe even 2, of their seats to keep their key alliance partners happy. Congress is a major partner, they'll likely expect a seat.
And the MDMK, Vaiko's party.
That's a big question. Vaiko himself is now 81, so there's discussion about whether he'd take another term or perhaps nominate someone else from the MDMK. But given his stature and the alliance history, it's highly probable a seat will be allocated to the MDMK in some form.
Okay, shifting to the AIADMK. They're looking at probably 2 seats. Who might they choose?
Well, within the AIADMK itself, there are several potential names that usually circulate. People like former Minister Gokula Indira, or maybe a party veteran like V. Mithran. These names often come up.
But they also have alliance considerations, right?
Yeah.
Particularly with the PMK.
Yes, that's a key factor for them. To maintain that relationship with the PMK, especially after parting with the BJP, there might be significant pressure or perhaps a mutual agreement for the AIADMK to allocate one of their 2 likely seats to the PMK.
Which could mean another term for Nbumani Ramados.
It's definitely a strong possibility if that's the deal they strike. It shows how it's not just about internal party choices, but also about managing those crucial coalition dynamics.
So for the smaller parties like PMK and MDMK, it really hinges entirely on these deals.
Completely. Getting a Rajya Sabha seat for them is totally dependent on securing that allocation from either the DMK or the AIADMK through negotiation. And as we mentioned, Kamal Hassan's MNM seems to have already secured their spot via the DMK arrangement.
I heard some buzz about a potential wild card pick, too. Is that something that happens?
Yes, it's always a possibility, especially in Tamil Nadu's political context. Parties sometimes look for a chance to send a broader message or appeal to a specific demographic.
Like what?
Well, picking a prominent figure from a minority community, perhaps a respected Muslim or Christian leader, is a strategic move you sometimes see. It's a way to signal inclusivity, to reach out to those important communities.
Yeah.
So while the math dictates how many seats each side gets, the decision on who gets them involves this complex blend of internal loyalty, alliance promises, specific skills, and sometimes, that kind of wider political messaging.
Taking a step back from the candidates and the numbers, what does this whole election, this process really tell us about the bigger picture, the current state of politics in Tamil Nadu? What's this barometer actually measuring right now?
It's measuring a few key things, I think. First, it definitely reinforces the continued strength of regional parties and that deep sense of regional identity, what people often call Dravidian pride in Tamil Nadu politics.
As shown by the DMK Alliance's huge win in 2024.
Exactly. That performance, which is the immediate backdrop here, really hammered home how powerful those regional sentiments remain, often overshadowing national narratives.
And then conversely, it shows the persistent challenge for national parties like BJP.
Clearly. Despite pouring in resources and attention, the BJP still finds it incredible. Oh, absolutely. For the DMK-led front, even though they look strong and unified after the Lok Sabha sweep, these kinds of seat allocation negotiations, even for Rajya Sabha, can sometimes, reveal minor friction points or competing demands between the partners. It tests the machinery.
And for the AIADMK?
For them, it's maybe even more critical. They're navigating their political space after breaking with the BJP without a major declared alliance partner in the assembly right now. These 2 Rajya Sabha seats are really valuable assets. How they use them, especially that decision on whether to give one to the PMK, will send strong signals about their future alliance strategy.
So even the smaller parties matter.
They do. It highlights how parties like MDMK and PMK, even with limited MLA numbers, remain important players. Someone once called them the spicy pickles in the Tamil Nadu political meal small, but they add essential flavor and can be crucial components in forming a winning combination.
When you lay out all the players, the history, the strategies, the alliances, it almost starts to sound like a political reality show.
Huh. It really does lend itself to that kind of comparison sometimes, doesn't it? You could almost imagine framing it as Big Boss, Tamil Nadu Assembly Edition.
Right, where you've got these established characters like maybe Vaiko, known for his, powerful, dramatic speeches.
His monologues, yeah. And you could picture the DMK and AIADMK politicians maybe engaging in some pointed verbal sparring during debates, a bit like those reality show confrontations.
And maybe someone like Nbumani Ramados is seen as, working the angles, trying to make deals behind the scenes.
Absolutely. Plotting the next move.
And the Election Commission plays the role of the strict host, laying down all the rules right down to those specific violet pens, making sure everyone toes the line, even while all this political drama is swirling around them.
And the MLAs themselves are the contestants, or maybe the audience inside the House, casting their crucial votes with those special pens. It adds this layer of almost performative procedure on top of the raw power politics.
It definitely brings a human sometimes even theatrical element to what could otherwise seem like a very dry, formal process.
It does. Because politics, even when it's about procedures and numbers, is ultimately driven by people, by personalities, alliances, and of course strategy.
Okay, let's pull it all together then, try and recap. On June 19th, Tamil Nadu's MLAs will elect 6 members to the Rajya Sabha,
Right, and it's a process fundamentally driven by the numbers in the state assembly.
where the DMK-led alliance currently holds a very strong position, looking likely to win most of those seats, probably 4 or 5.
While the AIADMK, based on its numbers, is realistically aiming for 2 seats.
And the whole thing is shaped by decades of alliance politics, the momentum from the recent Lok Sabha elections, and all these strategic calculations about who actually gets nominated for those coveted spots.
And it's really important to remember, even though you, the listener, don't vote directly for these Rajya Sabha MPs, the MLAs you'd elect in the state polls, they're the ones casting these crucial ballots, essentially on your behalf.
So these representatives carry the state's specific voice and concerns to Delhi, influencing national laws and policies that eventually filter down and affect everyone's lives.
Exactly. So understanding this process, even though it's indirect, gives you a much clearer picture of how your state is represented nationally and the intricate political forces at play within Tamil Nadu right now.
It really underscores how power and representation operate on, well, multiple levels, doesn't it? Not just the direct vote.
It certainly does. And maybe it leaves us with a final thought to chew on. What does this heavy reliance on indirect representation, where alliance deals and assembly arithmetic seem paramount, actually mean for how accountable these national representatives feel, not just to their party or alliance, but to the broader public in Tamil Nadu?
That's a good question.
How do these backroom negotiations truly shape the priorities they take to Delhi? And looking forward, beyond just the numbers game on June 19th, how might the specific individuals chosen this time and the alliances they represent genuinely impact Tamil Nadu's influence and standing on the national stage over the next 6-year term? It's a different way to think about how political power actually operates.